Welcome to Grief Sucks Life After Loss. I am your host, Linda, and I am here with Andrea. This is her second time joining us. So, Andrea, why don't you introduce yourself and tell them how we know each other and a little bit about your life?
Yes, perfect. Okay. So sorry, my dog is begging to be on my lap because I have snacks and I'm home. So, anyways, introduction wise, hi, I'm Andrea. I am Linda's cousin by marriage on my husband's side. And, I've been a part of the Carter clan for going on 16 years this month. So that's exciting.
It's a long time to be part of this clan.
Yeah, man. It's a fun tribe, honestly. We have some wacky ideas, but I'll be interested to see which ones, how far they actually get.
I mean, it's always fun and it's always an adventure, though. So life is not boring.
Oh, certainly not. Yeah.
And you have a salon.
What was that?
You have a salon. You want to tell them about your salon?
Yes. Okay. So in 2020, whenever my mom passed away, part of me dealing with my grief with that was me trying to figure out what my next step was going to be. I always wanted to be a hairstylist. I always valued relationships with people. I was always the girl that got the notes on a report card, like talks too much in class or doesn't finish assignments well, and like all these pointers and stuff. And it used to really bother me, but I'm learning to over time to let that go. So part of my healing journey with my mom's passing is me starting to actually follow my dreams on my own.
Super proud of you for that. And I know the feeling. That's kind of how the actual physical studio came along.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
So today I thought I found two kind of articles, and both of them are basically 10 facts or 10 things you need to know about grief. And they're kind of similar and they're kind of different. So we're going to go through both and kind of see how they resonate with each of us and maybe discuss them a little bit. Because I think the wording's very much different on both. But they're both really good.
I like that. Okay. I would like to set an intention for our talk today that I'm bringing myself my best foot forward and being as honest and open about the grief process as I can. It's something that I think is a really cool opportunity to be able to have it locked in a voice sense. That's something that losing my parents, I've learned that their voice is something I always want to keep a hold of.
Mm-hmm. Yes. All right. Number one is grief is normal. Says grief is not a disease. It is normal human response to a significant loss. Admittedly, saying that grief is normal does not minimize its difficulty, but you're not crazy or weak or not handling things. This one for me, I think I felt crazy a lot of times. Not even weak, but just crazy. Like, this shit's not normal.
Yes, I definitely I had similar feelings to that, and I'm still having similar feelings to that, like all these years later. But I'm recognizing the signs to it a lot faster than I have in the past. So that's really cool.
Number two is the worst kind of grief is yours. When you lose a significant person from your life, whatever the relationship, it hurts and nothing takes away your right to feel the loss and grieve the absence of the person from your life. I think that goes back to a lot of times when I know especially for me, there was a lot of people that said, well, I'm hurting, but not like you're hurting. And it was kind of compared, or like they didn't want to say something to me about how they were feeling or grieving the same person because they felt like their grief wasn't as significant as mine. And I mean, that kind of hurt because I'm like, but I want you to talk about it with me because it's still important.
Yeah. I've been doing myself some future favors and working through some of that right now. Like my grandma's not in great health. I went and visited her today, so that was really fun, taking a trip down memory lane a little bit.
Yeah.
And she got to graduate from her home health visits. So that was really cool. I got to see her exercising, and she took a lap around the house, and it was really cool. Yeah. And then I set up my schedule so that I can visit her next Thursday. So I'm going to go up there and I'm going to cut her hair for her.
Yeah, she'll love that. I know my grandma always liked to have her nails done and her hair done, and when she wasn't feeling her best. That's good. I hope you get to spend lots and lots of time with her before something happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because it reminds me a lot of Norma in some ways, as far as I feel like I was brand new to the family at that point. I had met Norma a couple of times, but like I knew I loved her.
Oh, she was amazing. And she was great.
She really was, man.
We were so like we were just talking about her. And so Norma, let me introduce Norma. Norma is the grandma to my husband and Andrea's husband. And she was a blast. Lots of memories of laughing with her. My favorite was, I don't even know how she came to this conclusion, but she spent a lot of time with us at my parents', and every time she seen my dad, she said, "I know you. You're that stripper." And she always thought Dad was the stripper. I don't know what strip club she went to. I don't know what she was doing in a strip club, but Dad was the stripper, and he just went along with it, and they had a good ass time.
Yes, absolutely. I caught myself like when my grandma would kind of repeat herself in a different way. I kind of recognized her struggling to have the conversation that she wanted to have or felt like needed to be said, just to air everything out a little bit. And it was really cool to be able to, like, I look a lot like her whenever she was younger. And I just ran across some of those pictures recently, and I was like, holy crap, I didn't realize how much I look like my dad's side of the family. So my grandma is my dad's mom, and she's 84.
Oh, wow.
And my grandpa is 89.
Goodness.
And he's still taking care of her, man. It's so cool. They've been married for like 70 something years.
My dad's parents, I think Grandpa was 91 when he died. Always took care of Grandma. They had like 14 kids, and it was crazy. But yeah, he was always taking care of her, and she passed before he did. And yeah, he lived a long time. It's crazy because I don't feel like you see that as much anymore. Next up, number 3 is the way out of grief is through it. We need to find the courage to go through this experience of grief. Learning this is the major key to recovery. I 100% hands down think that if you do not feel it all the way through, then you're never going to heal.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. Definitely. Since we spoke last, actually, I've been kind of in my feels doing my like winter solstice evaluation, fourth quarter closeout, kind of thing, and the analytical side of my head. And I'm like, okay, now it's been a complete year since you went from like, oh shit, we're going to do this. We're going to start a business. It's going to happen. And you've walked the walk, talked the talk. And now it's time for you to take a step back and look at what you've done, check the painting, see what needs to be adjusted, and we're going to continue on from here. Let's figure out our yearly plan. Yep. So that's what February, what I'm doing.
Perfect.
Yeah. Oh, it's working for me. What's working for you?
It's going to be great. Number 4, your grief is intimately connected to your relationship. To fully interpret our grief response, we need to understand what the relationship brought to our life, therefore, what has been lost from our life. And obviously, each relationship is different and each impacts us differently, more or less. Or my loss of my grandma was much different than my loss of my husband. So those brought 2 different type of losses into my life. 5, grief is hard work. Holy fuck. Is it not? Grief response is often referred to as grief work. It requires more energy to work through than most people expect. And I think more than most people are willing to do.
Yeah, that's for sure. I was in a meeting the other day and I saw this man was giving a presentation, and the analogy he had on the screen was iron sharpens iron. And I was like, well, yeah, that's true. Like, you just have to keep kind of going and figuring it out.
Yeah.
Like, I catch myself a lot recently, searching for like little clues that I've left myself over the last year. And I'm like, okay, where did I put all of the things that I hid myself? It's like a weird
Number 6, your grief will take longer than most people think. How long will grief last? Is it finished when it is finished when it is finished? As John Donne says, he who has no time to mourn has no time to mend.
I think if you don't,
I don't think it even does it end.
I think that you live in a version of hell for longer if you don't face it.
Absolutely. I agree with that. I did a lot.
Like, I remember having those type of feelings in the past.
Mm-hmm. I did a lot of self-reflection, a lot of self-healing and learning about myself to get through the grief. And I mean, obviously the grief doesn't ever go away, but I can honestly say that just over 2 years in, I'm in a good place.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in a really good place. I feel like finally this year, I'm like, this is my year. This is the year that I start to live life again. Because I clearly wasn't fully doing that previously, but now
yeah,
I'm in a good place. But it took a lot. It took a lot of fucking work to get there.
Yeah, most definitely.
Grief is unpredictable. Just when you think you have it figured out, something comes along to surprise you. In fact, the one predictable thing about grief is that it's unpredictable. I mean, I've clearly been in the grocery store and just lost my shit because something came across that made the grief pop back up. Or
yeah,
the song the store was playing or whatever it was.
I have one of those moments, or a couple series of those moments recently where I just like work myself up into like a panic attack. And I'm like, what the hell is happening? Thomas was telling me, he's like, you're not sleeping enough. First of all, you're not eating enough. Second of all, third of all,
you're not taking care of yourself.
You're not sleeping. Yeah. He was like, you've officially put yourself back to the bottom of the list. It's time for you to reevaluate. And I was like, oh,
yeah,
well, not in so many words. That's not how he said it, but that's how I understood what happened.
As long as you understood what was said.
Yes. I definitely, he told me I am not allowed to watch dramatic romance stuff before, like, to fall asleep to, that I haven't watched before, because it's when I'm super anxious, that'll like send me spiraling.
Well, don't do that.
I know. Isn't that funny though? Romantic comedy.
It's so weird. Number 8, there may be secondary losses to deal with. The death of an individual, difficult as that may be by itself, may also precipitate many other changes in your life. There may be many losses: environment, status, alterations of relationships because of the death. Each one has its own impact, and each loss needs to be mourned. I feel that straight to the fucking core. in general, I think just the surrounding people. I feel like
yeah,
we
your
lost.
environment plays a huge role in that.
Absolutely. I mean, there was a shit ton of people that, KJ was a people pleaser. He fucking had to friend everybody. And there was just so many people that after he died would just, you don't hear from anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Which is fine. Just weird, I guess.
That's been on my mind a lot lately too. And I actually reached out. I made a conscious decision this week to reach out to the people that I really like want to make sure that my relationships going forward for this next year of my life, that I feel like I'm in a good place with those. So yeah, I'm just kind of, I don't know, like you said, figuring it out as you go.
Are those relationships that have been ongoing, or you feel like they fell off, or?
I mean, the ride's always bumpy in different situations, but as a new business owner, like you run into different relationship things that you're like, oh, okay, well, didn't see that happening that way, or oh, I reacted that way to it, and now I wish I would have gone this way.
Yeah.
So now I feel like I have a little bit more feedback as to what the baseline of me running a business looks like at this point, which is kind of cool.
Look at you growing and being conscious about all the things.
I know, I'm telling you. I'm awake right now. This is Oscar.
Hi. Hi, Oscar. I mean, I'm going to need the big fuzzy dog.
This was my mom's dog. I got him for her before she passed away as like her little companion.
Yeah.
I thought it would help her. And I knew getting her a puppy was a really bad idea, but I wanted a dog and Thomas wasn't ready for one yet. I was like, ooh, if I do it this way,
look what you did.
I can get an animal, because if it doesn't work out, I'm not going to let my mom just get rid of this dog. I'm going to have to take it over. No, you cannot have my snack. Good down.
Well, you ended up with Oscar.
Yeah, so he's my little nephew, brother, baby dog. It's weird. Very Carter fashion.
That's true story. Number 9, grief comes and goes. Just when we think we're getting over it, we may experience another devastating setback. This can be discouraging to those who do not know what is happening. We need to realize that this is the way grief works itself out and trust the process. Difficult as it is helping us work towards reconciliation. I think there's always, I don't know. I feel like for me, there's setbacks. I think sometimes grief pops up and I have that maybe a moment to cry real quick and then keep going, or cuss him out, or, something small like that. But I don't personally feel like it sets me back, but it does come and go for sure.
Yeah, most definitely.
Number 10, effective grief work is not done alone. I think you are learning that.
Mm-hmm.
Try to find a support group, counselor, clergy member, spiritual director, or grief companion who can help. Or talk to someone who has been through a similar experience. I believe in the power of shared experiences, and often others who have been through the deep places can be a real help. Grief is about coping with the loss of a relationship, and often in a helping relationship, relief can be found. I spoke to a lady today, which I'm very excited about. I have an appointment.
We're changing locations here. Sorry.
We have a meeting next week to do a podcast with her. And she is a life and grief coach, which I'm super excited to talk with her. That is definitely something that I have looked into. But there's no clear direction of how to go get into that. Like, there's so many different, because it's not like an actual certification, if you will. It's kind of all over the place.
Right.
But super excited to talk to her and get her take on the subject and see how she helps people in their grief.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That sounds really, really cool.
Yeah, I'm super excited.
I'm so excited for you.
And then I know you like to see a therapist, so you got help with somebody else, and I didn't do the therapy route. I talked to friends. So I think we all come up with our own little circle of how we can help each other, or who we feel comfortable talking to, I guess, of how we get help.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely no coincidence in my head that my call to you before we started the podcast, and I said what I said, and then your number 10 thing that you said, and I was like, isn't that funny? I'm right on par where I'm supposed to be. That's good. I like to hear it. Yes, I like it.
So the next list is another 10 things you should know about grief, but it's a little bit different and definitely worded differently. So number 1 is grief is about loss, not death alone, which I try to make sure that's known, especially on the Facebook page, because we can grieve so many different things. It says we need to allow people going through all kinds of personal problems, disappointments, hurt, and life-changing events to have their grief. No point in saying there are others worse off when you're experiencing your own unwanted or unexpected life events. You can only feel your own pain. It's valid, it's normal, it's called grief. So yeah, losing, whether it's in death or friendship or dog or what was or what could have been, or there's so many different forms of grief. And I think maybe some people don't fully understand that. A lot of people think that it's just in death.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that too. I think that, yeah, all of that made sense. I feel like between what you read and what you said, definitely, I can feel that resonates with me. Interesting.
Number 2, one loss usually triggers a lot more. I often liken it to a jigsaw puzzle. When one piece goes missing, the whole puzzle is affected and isn't held together anymore. It doesn't look the same anymore. So when one piece of your life is changed or is lost, another piece, like companionship, finances, friendships, holidays, meal times, outings, family gatherings, daily routines, and a whole lot more all change too. Learning to adapt to these changes is sometimes called your grief work. And only you can do this work yourself. And I absolutely love the way that they put this, because I don't think there could have been a better saying for this, because it's like your whole world flips upside down and nothing is ever the same.
Yeah, that's exactly what it feels like. And then, I mean, you live in that state of like frozen shock for a period of time, but it feels like forever, you know? And sometimes it does stretch out for a really, really long period of time if you're not dealing with it. I mean, that's what I've come to realize. Like, my dad's been gone for 13 years now, and that's a big milestone. Like, I was pregnant with Emma this time whenever my dad was still alive. I'm like, she's going to be turning into a teenager this summer.
Time goes fast.
But then, yeah. And then like one of my friends, she's been going through it, and I try not to compare our situations, but at the same token, like, I ended up trying to figure out how I felt the best way to bridge that gap with her would be. Like, I was up one night and I was listening to the podcast and wanted to hear how you and Shelby's conversation went and everything. And I definitely felt a lot of resonation with a lot of the things that you guys talked about too. Like, it just takes time, and you have to be committed to not giving up on it.
Yeah, most definitely. I think you definitely have to say, this is what I'm going to do, and this is how I'm going to do it, and it's so easy to stray from that. But I feel like you feel better and when you're keeping up with that. And then once you just stray a little bit, it's hard to get back into that healing process of keeping straight to keep moving on. Number 3, grief doesn't come in neat consecutive stages. In fact, there's not much about grief that's neat at all. It comes in waves, sometimes so strong that you think you're drowning in emotions. They may be scary, unfamiliar, keep you awake, and stop you from eating. Many people worry and think they're going crazy. Don't expect it to be a smooth road. It just isn't.
Yep. I have one of those, not what I like to consider not my proudest moments in life. And when in reality, like, it was just showing Emma a glimpse into my reality of whenever I get so stressed out that sometimes the pot boils over and the water goes everywhere and it just creates a mess, you know, and you're just like, geez, like right now, seriously, I'm not ready for this. And I like woke Emma up out of a dead sleep, made her come back to our bedroom and climb in bed with us, and like the end of the Titanic. It was the weirdest thing.
And she's probably like, okay, what the fuck is, Mom, what is wrong with you?
Yeah. I feel like the crazy mom, like whenever you were watching sitcoms growing up, like there's always in every show, there's like, you know, the same type of characters. And I always try and pick out which one I fall into. And sometimes it's so weird that, you know, sometimes I'm the guy pointing at the map.
But it happens. I mean, that's the truth. It is things like that happen. And that's some of our reality. I mean, the craziness.
Most definitely. She ended up me like the following day about it. She was like, Mom, why did you wake me up last night? And the way her cadence of the way she said it reminded me so much of Nicole and the way she speaks. And I was like, oh, this is Aunt Nicole. This is like the Carter side coming out of her. But then like her facial expressions that she was making at the time were like me. And I was like, this is the weirdest thing to experience right now.
It's a whole combination.
Yeah, it's been wild, man. I'm telling you, my chakras are aligned or something. Something is happening to me right now, and I feel good. I feel karmically good.
I agree. I feel the same. It was something that when we got past 2023, I mean, I went into January, Dylan and I both sick for almost 2 weeks. And at that time, I'm like, fuck, this isn't how I want to start my year off. I had these plans. But it seemed like after we healed from that, like I was on my game and have been nonstop ever since. And like, it seems like everything's finally aligning, like almost back to unstoppable where I was years ago.
Oh yeah. I remember specifically, at, I think Jay and Shelby's, engagement party, maybe. Thomas and I came up. I think Emma was there. She was really little. And we sat there and sat at a table with you, Jay, and KJ and Shelby. You know, Jay and Shelby were in and out, but I don't remember if Christy was there. But anyways, they ended up, KJ and I were talking about, like, he was like, man, you seem so well adjusted after losing your mom. Like, how did you do that? And I was like, I don't know, man. I'm just trying to make it through. Like, I remember having this whole conversation about it.
Yeah.
So weird. And then I had another KJ moment today. I was cleaning out the back of my car. And I just want to share with you what I have floating around with me still.
Bags
of tissue paper. Little stocking. Some more bags and tissue paper. Don't worry.
It's still
inside of another bag. Yes. These are my travel gift bags.
For just
Be
in
ready,
case.
people. I'm feeling generous. But now all the good karma.
Number 4 on this list. People may be quite uncomfortable around you. Even people you know well may not know what to say or say things that surprise you or make you mad. They think they have to cheer you up or offer some wise words. Maybe a silent hug will be better. People just simply don't know what the fuck to say. I mean, I do it.
Yeah,
I
most definitely.
I caught myself the other day. Somebody had messaged me, and they had just lost somebody close, and I hadn't talked to them in a long time. And the first thing I say is, "How you doing?" And I'm like, first of all, why the fuck did you just say that? Because you know better.
Yeah.
And so I followed it up with something else, but I was like, just, I'm like, you should know better. Like, you of all people should know better to not ask that.
Yes.
So I think knowing what to say is the hardest thing, because you want to be there for people, but at the same time, sometimes everything you say is going to be wrong.
Yeah.
Number 5, time does not heal,
Sorry.
it just moves on. It's what you do with your time that creates the healing. Doing nothing doesn't make your grief go away. You can't avoid it. You can't hide from it. You need to go with it. You don't get over it. You just adapt. And this takes a lot of time. 100%. It don't go away. It doesn't. You just adapt to your new life and what is now. And
I remember. Go ahead. Oh, sorry. It cut out, and I didn't mean to cut you off. I remember when my mom's dad was sick, and I was really little. I was probably maybe about 6 years old or so, and like I have memories of her dad, but my mom's mom passed away before I was born. So my brother and sister have like vague memories of her, but I've got nothing as far as on her side goes. So it's kind of like, seems weird to me that Emma's in that same boat, kind of.
Yeah.
Like it seems so on track with the way my mom's life events kind of happened, that I think I've always let that kind of scare me. That was like one of my big parent anxieties that I have.
Yeah.
And I'm learning to work through that and just, give myself tips along the way by doing stuff like this. I mean, I'm scatterbrained, so people aren't going to know where to look for all my stuff. I'm a crazy bag lady.
Yeah, they're going to go through every one of the fucking bags and see if you hid something in there.
Absolutely, as they should, because every day is a scavenging. Yes. Every day is deals day.
Right. Number 6, grief changes you. A significant loss will always affect your life to such an extent that things and you will be different. Remember the jigsaw puzzle. So don't expect to be your old self again. Grieving requires you to learn new ways of coping, learn new skills, and learn to live without someone who meant so much. I am very much a different person than I was. I mean, I'm still similar, but my give a fucks are way less than they was before, and I didn't give a fuck before. But at the same time, I feel like I care more about certain things, but I just learned to not give in to things that are either a waste of my time or isn't, I don't want to say benefiting, but I guess if I don't want to do it, I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm more conscious of my time, I think, and how I spend it, because we don't know how much time we have. I think that's a better way to put it.
Yeah, I've been on a similar wavelength of those thoughts. Pretty much, I guess, since you launched the podcast, really, like after talking with you at cousin's Christmas over the holidays and stuff, and like kind of listening to where you were with things, and I was like, okay, we seem on the same like wavelength. That's really cool. I want to like continue checking in on her, and what's a more creative way for us to do that, basically.
Yeah, and I love that, because I mean, having somebody to do that or go through that together is amazing, and not everybody has that opportunity or even those people that they click with or feel like they can go through that journey with. So yeah, when you said something about that today, I was very, very happy to hear that, because not everybody has that opportunity.
Yeah, most definitely. And I feel like, you know, you and I have gone through enough bullshit in our lives to this point that like we've earned some really good credit, some karma credit,
Right?
and maybe it's time for us to take a little bit of that in and use it on ourselves, and that's okay too.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
every single thing that you do in life is a give and take, and it's a balancing of the scales. And as long as you're doing it with the purest intent of not harming anybody, then I feel like that's a win.
And sometimes it takes loss to realize that, to get to where we're both at. Like, I don't know that had I not lost him, that I would be mentally in the space that I'm in today. Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
that's the unfortunate part of it, is sometimes that it takes that loss to get to where we are in a good place.
I've been letting myself romanticize my life recently, and like fall back in the month of February. We are falling back in love with ourselves. You know, I don't know what this was.
That's very important.
Yeah. I realize, you know, I've let the noise kind of get in the way a little bit, and part of my self-healing journey back to finding myself, this version of what I'm doing, where I'm at. Yeah. I'm here for it.
Absolutely. Number 7, there will be whys and what ifs, except that some things will never make sense to you. And even if you get answers, they still don't make things right or fair. The trick is to learn to live without those answers. I think that is huge. I feel like I spoke to somebody not too long ago that was still trying to figure out why. And I'm like, you will never know that. You will never, ever, ever have that answer, because we're not the ones that said, hey, it's your time. So you'll never know that answer. And I think that was one thing that I personally tried to make sure that I didn't. What if I did this? What if I did that? What if we, and whys, because I honestly think that eats people up sometimes. Like, you just can't. I don't think.
Oh yeah, you'll just sit and spin out, man.
Oh man, I've seen many people do it, and I mean, those are things that you can't control. There's probably plenty of things that I say, well, what if I did this? Would that have changed the outcome? But at the end of the day, I fully don't believe that it would have. I think when it's your time, it's your time. And there's not necessarily anything anybody can do to change that, unfortunately. So I pushed really hard not to be in that headspace. Number 8,
I agree with that.
Crying is coping. It just makes others feel awkward. So they often urge you to be strong and think of all your happy memories. Crying is okay, and not crying is okay. But it's said that crying with someone has a better effect on you than crying alone. I think I don't know. I don't know that I've cried with too many people.
I myself am a hopeless romantic to the core, and I'm very empathetic. So sometimes there are definitely people in my life that I notice kind of will try and turn the tables around on me, but I've gotten really good at spotting those people over and over again in time, being like, okay, no, you're the one who's trying to fuck this up for me. This isn't going to happen.
Like,
I've learned in my 16 years of marriage to have become very strategic, because Thomas is a very strategic person. He responds well to that. So I have to figure out a way that like he and I still can continue to mesh well together and get everything that we want done.
Number 9, closure is an odd concept. It's not realistic to ask someone to close off their love for someone like you would close a bank account or close a door. These days, we say that finding ways to keep the bond of love connected are more akin to healthy grieving. And that makes sense. For me, I think it was we didn't ever not talk about KJ. Um, like I feel like we've, and still to this day we talk about him often. So we're still
Yeah.
keeping that connection. And I mean, I also know a lot of people who just cut it off and don't talk about it at all. And number 10,
I think you're frozen. Are you still there?
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Okay. I can hear you, but you're breaking up.
Yeah, you keep breaking up.
Okay. Now you're moving.
Okay, we good? All right, number 10. A lot of people might come to the funeral, but it doesn't mean you'll have a lot of support. It doesn't take long before the phone stops ringing and people don't drop in. Sometimes it's because they think you have your family around and other friends will be there for you. But the truth is, the time after the funeral can be very lonely and isolating, and many people avoid you because they don't know what to say. They do care, but they feel uncomfortable. Look, KJ's funeral was huge, and I haven't seen or heard from probably over half of them people that was there since the day of the funeral.
Yeah.
And for me, I understand that the relationship was different. I was not the people person. It didn't mean that I didn't like or love some of these people that was in our life that is no longer reaches out or we don't see or hang out with or anything like that. But I think my biggest thing is if he meant so much to you, then why would you never reach out to his family and just say, hey, are you good? Do you need something? I think that is my biggest thing throughout all of this is that.
Yeah. I'm familiar with some of that too. When my dad was dying, my grandparents, they were getting older. I was older. I was in my early 20s. I was 24 whenever I had Emma. And so I remember, sorry, I totally lost my train of thought. What the hell was I talking
about? Funerals and people missing. And
yes. So I remember I was at my mom's house and my grandparents were over there. My dad was on hospice. And, at the time I didn't realize what that was. And by the time I did, I talked myself, I pushed down all of those feelings so that I wouldn't have a panic attack in my parents' house. And I was like, okay, they need you to be strong. They need you to be strong. Pressure to make sure that he knew that I was going to take care of mom.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality of that was those next 10 years were fucking hard trying to keep that up and keep all of the other pieces that I'm trying to work into my life and make happen for myself. It was just so much to carry around,
And did you feel like you were in that alone?
At times, yes. I'm one of those people that I can be in a room full of people and still feel very like I could scream at the top of my lungs and no one hears me.
Yeah.
But I forget the key component to that scenario is all I have to do is communicate. And when I get super anxious, I just totally clam up and that's it.
But at least you know that you have to communicate to get that through. Because my big thing was I never asked for help for anything. If shit needed done,
I never knew how.
If shit needed done, I just did it myself. I mean, there were times where we needed to move a fucking big ass 1,000-pound hay bale, and we would just make it happen. And then KJ would be like, "Why didn't you wait for me?" I'm like, "Because I'm not waiting for anybody. I'm not asking for help. We needed it done. We got it done. You were not coming home for a day or two because you were out of town, so we just did the shit." And so I just wasn't that person to ask for help. But after he died, and I started having really bad panic attacks, if I left the house, it wasn't no sooner I got down the fucking street or getting ready to pull and go into the store that I just thought I was gonna have a heart attack. And I had to learn and make myself call somebody and ask for that help, or call and say, hey, this is what's going on. Can you talk to me till I get home? Or, hey, can you meet me at the house? Can you just come sit with me? Like, I don't need you to say anything, do anything. I just need you to sit here physically, just so I know if something happens, somebody's fucking here. And that was hard.
Yes.
But I think it's important to know that you have to ask for that. And especially when you lose somebody, you know, everybody else's life keeps going. And they don't know what you need until you tell them what you need. And you learn that when you do finally let that guard down and ask for help or communicate, you know, your people are there. They just don't know how, they just don't know what you need and when you need it until you tell them that.
Yeah. You have to use your words.
Yes, absolutely.
And speak it loudly. Like, I catch myself mumbling a lot or speaking really fast. I caught myself doing that with my grandma today. And, you know, she's hard of hearing, so you do have to make a conscious effort to slow down if you really want to communicate with her. Which right now is a good thing for me. I could use that.
All right. Well, is there anything you would like to add on the 10 facts of grief?
I don't think so. I think I gave you my little tidbits that I wanted to make sure that got recorded today. My random thoughts that were floating around in my head. So now I can mentally mark journaling off of my list.
Oh, look at you go. All right. Well, we're gonna close it out today, and we appreciate everybody listening. And we will see you on the next episode.
Thank you, guys.
I hit the stop button.